Thank you for the kind introduction. Hi, everyone. So before we step into our discussion, I would like just every panelist quickly to introduce himself. So let's start with Tony, who, you were introduced as a moderator, but yeah, you're panelist.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tony Tong from Hong Kong Blockchain Association. I'm the co-founder, co-chairman. So back in 1991, I was one of the earliest developers of web and HTTP. In 2000, I did a NASDAQ listing of my internet company. And now this is the third time I'm in the also in the STO business. We are one of the companies based in Hong Kong, waiting for the Hong Kong security token SFC's sandbox, and we are applying for the license in Hong Kong for the security token. And I'm the president of Global STOX, Global Stocks. So that's my day job.
Thank you, Tony. Henry?
Hey guys, my name is Henry Liu. I'm the co-founder of Decentral Bank as well. In relevance to this session we're having today, I'm the executive director at ADAX, Asia Digital Asset Exchange. We are a digital asset exchange focused on security tokens, licensed out of the Cagayan Economic Zone in the Philippines.
Hello everyone, Ali Madhavji, managing partner of Blockchain Founders Fund. We're a global venture capital firm, which is very early stage. From pre-seed to Series A. We also run a venture builder and run a consulting arm working with the United Nations. I am an advisor to Polymath, and we also have several companies in our portfolio working around STO, such as digital banks and other things.
Hi, I'm Kameta. I'm founder and CEO of Zweispace. Zweispace is now selected as top 10 real estate technology company in the world by CIO magazine. And we issued to buy coin for the app token for that platform, and also stable coin with Japanese yen denomination. And another coin to buy note, which is a property ownership token, fully compliant. And I'm in internet business for 20 years. I disrupt the phone industry, voice over IP, before Skype. This time, we disrupt the real estate investment industry by blockchain. I wish I could debate with Dr. Rubini. I could probably beat him in 5 minutes, as some of the audience here might think that way as well. But security tokenization is one more important discussion, so I'm very happy to be in this panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Hayato. And my name is Addy Crezee, and I'm the founder and CEO of Blockshow, which is a global blockchain conference. Okay, so stepping into the discussion on security tokens. I would like to start with very interesting statistics not so long ago published by Ran Noyne, aka crypto trader, on his Twitter, showing that ICOs are dead. Venture capital money are constantly coming into the space from actually the beginning, I guess, of like 2010s. IOs is definitely a trend now, and they are replacing the ICOs. And STOs are constantly at the last position among these four. Starting from 2017, nothing is really like evolving and changing that much. So the question is like, why are security tokens that important, right? What changes they will bring to the finance and ecosystem space, and why people are waiting for this STOs era? So what's your point? Yeah, Tony?
I think coming from Hong Kong, because we're very close to China, as we all know, there's so many exchanges and ICO projects coming from China. And unfortunately, like the economist said, that a lot of these projects have vaporized. So, and the regulator in Hong Kong has also taken notice that some of these projects, ICO projects, and some of the unregulated exchanges actually caused some investor losses. So it is the regulator's job to protect investors. So I think we are working with the regulators. I think in the projects that we're working on, some of the real estate-based security token offerings, we are going through IPO process, asset appraisal, and all that. I think there's Asian people, Hong Kong people, Chinese people have traditionally been very in love of investment into real estate. But real estate is a very illiquid investment, And I think that combining with the blockchain technology and real estate projects, it allows like crowdfunding the masses to participate in real projects, and these projects are backed by real-world physical assets. Could be real estate, could be private equity stocks and precious metals and so on. So I think that market is thousands or hundreds of thousands bigger than the pure cryptocurrency market, and I think that because we have to go through the regulators for approval, and we are going through the IPO process, I think it's much better for the investors because they're going to see that the token, the security token that they invest in will be backed by balance sheet, real assets appraised with appraisal reports audited by the key auditors.
Thanks, Tony.
I think Tony covered most of it. Tony, of course, being in Hong Kong, has a tremendous reach and understanding of the space. And everybody else here as well. And I want to understand, by a show of hands, just a bit of audience participation here today, how many of you have actually contributed to an STO, a security token offering?
Not that much.
0. Right. And so it's a matter of time, I think, to understand first is why haven't you contributed? Is it because of the access? Is it because you are not certain of what these projects are? Is it because you don't understand whether there is a return on investment in purchasing or contributing to a security token offering? And so largely it's education based, but at the same time, I think the benefits, and this is what we are here today collectively as a group to share, is to help people understand that there are benefits to security token offerings and that the direction it's going may take a bit of time, but it's something that there actually has a sort of a built-in advantage to, because most people who want to bring in sort of capital or investment from the traditional world need to understand what they're investing in. Many of their friends that I spoke to, when I asked them, could you value this utility token for me? And I know I'm going to get a lot of heat here. I traditionally couldn't value a utility token as easily as I could value a security token. Now, there aren't a lot of examples out there of security tokens that are paying dividends, that are actively being traded. Volumes are very, very low currently. But the benefit was I could understand what the product was. I could understand where it's coming from. I could understand its strength. I could understand its weaknesses. And I think it's going to be the same for many, many others who are active investors. Ali may agree or disagree to that point, but I think the first part is having to help people understand what exactly they're investing in. And again, most of the people in this audience have never participated in an STO, and maybe that's a lack of understanding, or maybe that's a lack of access, or just a lack of availability, right? It's up to all of us to make sure that we find projects, help to understand the use case of blockchain, and help them take advantage of what security tokens can do for them.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'll add on to that. I mean, it's still early days for STOs. I mean, if you look at some of the costs around running an STO, it is still quite high, and a lot of it is a duplicate in addition to your traditional fundraise. And so that's one of the challenges where over time, STOs are going to be able to lower those costs pretty significantly because of being able to program in some of the different jurisdictional requirements and lower legal costs. One of the other things to keep in mind is you're seeing very big organizations looking at security tokens already. So for example, Société Générale, which is one of the major French investment banks, recently did do an STO, which was a bond-based STO. And that was over a $100 million offering. And so they successfully did do that on the Ethereum blockchain.
Well, Bitcoin doesn't pay interest. So some tokens needs to offer because most of the people put it in bank deposit or in securities. And I thought like a real estate was very good. And from the CBRE's report that in the world, $35 trillion marketable real estate. And in US, maybe 700 billion publicly traded. In Japan, 140 billion are already traded. And when we use the security token, we can bypass all those professionals in financial industries, probably 10% to 30%, so that you can expect the income or dividends will jump 10% or 30% by using tokens. And then enabling technologies of blockchains can do that, and we have prepared the compliant tokens, and then I think that's very meaningful, and it's ready.
Yeah, that's true. But we just mentioned that, hey, STOs have a long run to go, right? But how much time should it take, right? So let's say, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So what's the timing? What do you think? Let's call it, like, let's give it some period of time. What do you think? When?
All right, so we typically don't make predictions like this, but having said that, one of the things that we are working on at Polymath is actually a very key component of actually the security token problem, right? So we're working on Polymesh with Charles Hoskinson around actually creating the security token protocol. And this is actually very key because one of the things that's very important with security tokens is actually being able to work very closely with regulators and to be able to build in the tools that are required for all the different jurisdictional requirements. And then the next part of this is actually getting regulators to understand that this is not something against them, but it actually has a lot of very key tools that enable regulators to do more. So if you look at every year the amount of securities fraud or insider trading, like this is the sort of tool where you can actually start to crack down on that with a blockchain layer tool for regulators. This does take time though. So I mean, I'm looking at this more as, 5, 10, 15 years, but you're gonna see more and more companies actually doing security tokens, but it's gonna be bigger companies. And so we said Societe Generale did one. You're gonna see other, major companies, major investment banks looking to do them. You're gonna see, more popular, for example, iconic buildings perhaps doing them. And then over time, it'll bring the cost down for other sorts of companies to be able to do them more effectively.
So let's call it up to 15 years. Okay, so you've mentioned a really important thing, and it's actually one of the main topic of our discussion is regulation, right? So as we are in Asia, so the question is, which Asian countries guidance on compliance, issuing and trading security tokens is most attractive in your opinion?
Okay. I'll just share with, I don't know if Hong Kong is the best, but I'm just going to share with everyone what's happening in Hong Kong. Actually, Hong Kong, it's not a leader. I think Hong Kong regulator is typically a follower. So when SEC started investigating a lot of the ICO projects, so Hong Kong, I think the regulator follows through. And then when SEC announced that STOs are okay with a traditional securities law, that's available for the accredited investors in Hong Kong. The SFC says, okay, STOs, according to the guideline, can be offered through a SFC licensed type 1 broker-dealer to professional investors that's with a liquid asset of 8 million Hong Kong. So this is quite similar. Hong Kong's sandbox, I think, is going to be about a year to a year and a half. So I think, but even during this SFC's sandbox period for the STOs, we are preparing to submit one of the first STO projects. As I mentioned, it will be a real estate based with monthly rental income that will be dividend out to the token investors through smart contract. So we don't know how difficult it is, so we are preparing for this, and we're going to be sharing with you when it comes to dealing with the SFC.
So you're planning to do that in around a year and a half?
For our STO project, we're going to submit it within a few months.
In Hong Kong?
3 to 6 months, yeah, in Hong Kong.
Oh, that's big.
So
cool.
I think, well, we've been to many jurisdictions around the world. We've seen a lot of what the regulators are saying and also what they want to hear. A lot of them are just sort of sitting there and trying to understand and learn the landscape a lot better, be more educated before they make large financial and governmental decisions that could affect the way we live, the way we think, the way we transact, the way we do finance. It's a really big move. I myself, we operate out of Manila because we have our security exchange in the Cagayan Economic Zone. One of the reasons why we've actually been there and started working with the regulators to craft a lot of the decisions there is simply because of flexibility. I think it's important for them to have some flexibility, although a lot of people may look at it as something that's a concern. If they say, well, here's a bunch of new entrants into a market who are very, very, let's say, flexible, and they want to be able to issue financial instruments, issue products to people globally, because in an economic zone, we're allowed to take customers from many, many jurisdictions around the world. But I find that as an advantage. I find that right now what we have to do is look at things that can drive adoption and look at things that can trigger the buy side of these security tokens. If there's no market for it, nobody's going to care, right? A lot of companies who want to issue security tokens need to understand where the market's going to come from. Is their product going to attract people? Because we can list as many security tokens as we want, but we need to be in jurisdictions where I think the governments allow us to bring on and solicit and show products that people want, people care about, they have an emotional connection to. It's the same as the crypto market, right? So when we have the crypto market starting up, a lot of people didn't understand. They just started buying. But it triggered something. It triggered instability, but it also triggered a lot of education. It triggered a bit of understanding. So I think we have something good to learn from. I think different governments around the world can learn from what happened in the utility token space.
The question is, which countries? Which countries?
Well, I myself am an advocate for economic zones like the Cagayan economic zone in the Philippines, simply because I enjoy the Malta is a good one as well. A lot of people talk about it, but being Asia focused, I think everybody should look into economic zones like Cagayan economic zone.
So, I mean, to add on to that, just so that the audience is aware of some of the other areas where we're seeing security tokens get some traction within Asia. I mean, on top of Hong Kong and the Philippines and the special economic zones, you're seeing Labuan actually being a pretty interesting space right now, pretty progressive on that side. And then Singapore, of course, the regulator has been pretty active, and they are looking at additional licenses for different parts of that ecosystem related to security tokens.
I think Japan's already ready, because we prepared a fully compliant 2 sets of coin. One for utility token, yen denominations, stable, or plus some, not just sitting on the bank. We have rigid large banks storing the cash coming out from the coins, and then some of the money will be pooling into the property ownership tokens. And in Japan, there's a 2 law, financial laws and the property law. We use the property law. And I have filed a real estate blockchain patent 3 years ago and prepared this for 5 years. And then finally came up with these solutions. And then it's fully compliant in Japan. And the market is already there. As I told you, $140 billion real estate investment trust. And there are about $13 trillion of money sitting on the bank, less than 0.1% interest rate. And the banking is losing money. And the insurance companies are making lots of profits because the insurance company in Japan is having lots of real estate directly, and banking just lending the money less than 1% to the real estate owner. So that if the people directly own the real estate with the security token or real estate tokens, the market is there, things is ready.
Could you tell more on that, how you use security tokens in the real estate? Because that's one of your main things you're working on now, right? Yep. So that's a real implication of a security token. So could you share more on that?
Yeah, by using land law, that realtor with a special license have authority to manage the properties for the beneficially. And then financial regulated licensed agent company will distribute this ownership and first and secondary market as well. And the real estate, after all, is immutable, and you can't steal the real estate. The Facebook or Mr. Forbes talk about maybe Facebook used the gold coin, but the gold can be stolen in the way, or when back in World War, British sent the gold to some other countries, and maybe some Russian golds going somewhere. But the real estate, you can't steal the building. You can't steal the ledger. The ledger is exactly in the blockchain. That's why the real estate is really the key. I don't think the cryptocurrency matters if it compared to the ownership of the real estate. This is a blockchain summit. It's not about the cryptocurrency summit. And this is best use for the blockchains. And the tokenization of the real estate is really the value.
What we are talking about real estate, right? What other industries security tokens can really change? In your opinion? Yep.
Yeah, so I'll jump in. I mean, we're definitely pretty excited about looking at debt markets. So looking at bonds and debentures, I think it's an area for security tokens that makes a lot more sense. It's actually a very big market, but it's much easier to standardize and actually to be able to sell off chunks in a way that, you know, with real estate, it is at times more complicated. It's a lot more localized than people realize. And so that's where we're pretty excited about debt markets being able to be tokenized for securities. There's other areas that I think are pretty interesting, like looking at maybe like famous buildings. Maybe there's value there. Looking at very strong B2C related companies that have very strong brands. Those companies can probably pull in irrational values or be able to securitize from the public. We're looking at potentially art-related plays. I think those could be pretty interesting for creating liquidity within art markets, especially for more famous artists and things like that.
Yeah, another example, we're tokenizing an esports team. It's a League of Legends. They own a Counter-Strike team. And these are audiences that sort of understand or kind of want to dive into blockchain technology. It's just another path towards adoption. Having people such as a DJ like Steve Aoki or Imagine Dragons band sort of investing and doing that really helps us promote and do all this stuff. But I think beyond just finding a sexy product, it's also understanding that there are other things that we can think about that include traditional instruments or real estate. Like understanding that there's a difference between just issuing security tokens and that there's also tokenized securities that are available. Traditional investors understand tokenized securities. How do we put a basket of those together? How do we allow people who previously couldn't buy them access them now, right? How can somebody buy $1 worth of Apple and say, I want to buy it before the market opens in the US? These kind of concepts are possible with security tokens. They are, and we want to explore those. So I think having these type of different products that are very unique beyond just traditional assets will drive that sort of attention, first of all, then adoption.
I'm also from the gaming world. I lived in Macau for a number of years. I'm the vice chairman of Macau Gaming Association. So in addition to real estate, I'm also looking at a lot of applications, blockchain and tokenization of gaming. So ICO was very active in the gaming world, but because of many Aircoins, shitcoins, a lot of the ICO projects went down to zero. So right now, I'm looking at a lot of these land-based projects with real estate, and they're going to do fundraising. They're going to lease it to the hotels and the casinos, and the token investors will also share the income coming from the casino. So I think that's a combination. It's a nice combination. So because these will be backed by real estate, but with monthly, profit sharing from the some from fixed rental sharing, but some also coming from the gaming income. So that's a very good, interesting combination. Because if you just do real estate, it's not exciting. The prices doesn't go up very much. But if you combine with real estate as a base with good income possibility, and some of these projects require billions of dollars of investment to build a resort and a casino. So it's a big crowdfunding with the excitement of gaming income and the real estate.
Thank you, Tony. I see that we're short on time, so we have 0 left. So thank you so much, everyone. Just a brief conclusion. We didn't have enough time to make it very detailed, but anyway, so STOs are still far to go, right? Let's call it up to 15 years. Yeah, there are multiple industries, including real estate, where security tokens are already can be implemented and influence a lot. Still, the regulation is not yet in place, but there are countries working at it, like Singapore, Philippines, and the country where we are right now, Taiwan, which is really looking positively at blockchain technology. So, in general, security tokens are very, very. It's a very positive thing for the whole technology community, and. Yeah, let's see how.
I just wanted one comment. I don't agree. It takes 15 years. I think it's going to come in the next year. So in the U.S., obviously, there's already been more than a few dozen success cases. In Hong Kong, I think we're going to look at some real success cases within the next year or two.
And also, we didn't talk about Taiwan enough. Taiwan #1. Taiwan's done some amazing things in this space. All right, Jason, student, advocate, has done some incredible things. So let's get up for Taiwan, okay?
Taiwan, yeah. Thank you, everyone, and I hope that was valuable for you.
Thank you again, Addy.